Boker Tov and welcome to the 2016 Homeschool Family Conference. My name is Ann Elliott and I'm the creator and founder of HomeschoolingTorah.com. And I'm coming to you this morning. It's beautiful outside in my backyard here in Michigan. It's a Thursday morning and we've been running this conference all week. I'm recording this the actual day that I'm going to be showing it on YouTube. But inside my house over there, well, we've been really busy with a conference. We've been working on this conference for weeks, and then we started on Sunday morning, and we've been just one session after another. And as we've been working on the conference, and everybody's been participating and trying to get things done for that, my housekeeping standards have gone lower and lower and lower. And here I sit on a Thursday morning, supposed to talk to you about chores and kitchen duties and life skills. And I don't know, I feel like the biggest hypocrite. I have to tell you guys, this has always been a struggle for me. My oldest son is 20 years old. I've told you that all week. And he's got a very neat and tidy bedroom. But I don't know where he caught this from, except to give the credit to the husband that I have. You see, when I first was married, I didn't keep a clean house. I would procrastinate. Procrastination was my biggest enemy. I didn't really like doing it. I'd rather stick my nose in a book or get on the computer, and we've actually had a computer since one of the very first couple years after we were married, or go talk to friends, or go do something else, anything besides dishes and dusting and vacuuming and cleaning the bathroom. Anything but the jobs that I really probably was supposed to do. Now, a couple years into our marriage, I started teaching piano lessons from my home, and I had over 30 students that would come to my home every week. And so throughout the course of the day, especially as afternoon came and kids were getting out of school and they'd come for their piano lessons, I would have to keep my house somewhat passable because people saw it. So I found out that pride, believe it or not, was one of the first things that helped me to keep my house clean. I knew people would see it, but here's what I did to fix the solution. I didn't have a dishwasher, so I'd hide the dishes in the oven. I'd hide them in crazy places, back in the pantry, places that I didn't think anyone would go. And then just kind of worry, what if they did? But who would do that in a piano lesson, right? So, it was later, probably around, I'm trying to think how long we'd been married, 6 or 7 years into our marriage, that I just started to feel very convicted about the fact that I wasn't doing a good job of laundry or cleaning or anything. And my husband, he likes a house that's neat and tidy, and he would ask me, please honey, before I get home, do you think we could have the kids clean up their toys? And I'd say, okay, why is it so important to him, really? And then I think the Father started to work on my heart and to convict me in this area, and he used scripture. I started in Genesis chapter 1, and I started to think about something that I'd never thought about before, and that was that when God made all of the world in those first 6 days, when he made Adam and he made Eve, he placed them into a beautiful garden, much more beautiful than the one I'm sitting in right now, and that's mind-boggling. And yet he told them, even as beautiful as it was, he gave them a perfect environment. So perfect that you'd think that that would solve all problems in life, to have the perfect house, perfect garden, the perfect circumstances. That will help me keep my house clean, right? No, but he placed Adam and Eve into the perfect garden, and he said, I want you to tend it. I want you to keep it. I want you to guard it. I want you to take care of it. I want you to take care of the animals, and I want you to take care of the plants and the trees and the fruit. And even in a perfect environment, things still needed to be tended, things still needed to be worked on. And that's what hit me. Work was there before the fall. It wasn't a curse. It was what we are designed for. Wow, that was something I had never wrapped my head around before. And so, I determined to do better. I determined to become a woman of excellence, a woman like what he had created. And one of the things I did is I went through my Bible. It didn't take terribly long at this. I took the common verses that we know of as Proverbs 31, Titus chapter 2, and I took those verses and I wrote them by hand on a piece of notebook paper. I wrote them all out word for word. It took 2 sides, and then I taped it up over my kitchen cupboards, and I went out to the kitchen, and I went, oh my word, what a mountain of dishes. It was stretched on every counter. We hadn't done it for a while, and we weren't that many of us, so that tells you how long it had been. Things were kind of caked on, and I just dug in and started scrubbing, and just so angry with myself for letting it get this bad. And yet I read those verses, and then I'd stop in the middle, dry my hands off, and flip that paper over, tape it back up, scrub some more. And I think it took a while to get through those dishes. But as I was washing and scrubbing, I was reading those verses and trying to commit them not just to memory, but into my heart. And then it was the laundry. And then it was the toys, going up to the kids' room and saying, honey, I don't even know where to begin. We started to come up with solutions for how to keep our toys neat and tidy. For instance, my husband went to Walmart, and he got, then I don't know if they sell these anymore because I still have, anyway, we got the clear Sterilite containers, that was the brand, with white lids, and we got bunches of them. We got some for every kind of toy, so we would put maybe dinosaurs in this one, and blocks in this one, and Duplos in this one, and on and on. And I would draw little stick figures, because I can't draw very well. I would draw little stick figures and put that on the front of the Duplo, or I'm sorry, on the front of the Sterilite container. And that way my kids, well, here was our reasoning. Those lids were hard to get off. They weren't the snappy kind like you can get now. They were kind of click on, and only I could get it. The kids at this point were 4, 1, and newborn, and they couldn't open those lids without my. So our rationale was that we could put our kids on the floor with 1 or 2 or even 3 of those containers around them, but maybe 1 or 2 would be better, and they could only play with what was there. They couldn't just pull off every single toy in their entire bedroom and shove everything everywhere all over the floor and get tired of one thing and go on to another. And that really helped. It was a huge difference. Then of course I had to actually discipline myself to help the kids clean up. And my mom always said a kitchen timer is her best friend. And she's right. I would set a timer during their playtime to remind myself to check, to remind myself to walk in. It wasn't a timer for them, it was a timer to nag me. So I could go in and I could say, it's been 45 minutes and I'm really surprised, you guys, at how many toys are out. Let's pick up these toys over here. And then another thing we tried, I'm dating myself so badly in this video. We had a CD player and maybe even a tape player, and I would put in fun kids music, Christian music that had much to do about, back then it was Jesus and God's word, but still was very precious truth to put in our hearts. And we would put it on, and we found that we could clean up a lot in the space of one song. We could race the song and see how much we could get done, and that became more fun. I also found that if I sat on the floor with my children and not did it for them, and not yell at them the whole time to do it, but do it together as a family, me and my little ones next to me, sitting there cleaning together, things were just so much more pleasant. I still did the laundry at that point. I still did the cooking and cleaning. They were still quite little. So it was during those years also that I learned how to cook and learned how to actually enjoy it. I got some of my very first cookbooks. Now I did have a really great Betty Crocker cookbook that was given to me as a wedding present, and I actually got it out and started to read it. I told you I like to read. I read cookbooks. Who does that? So I would read the introduction, I would read the end, I would read all the neat little hints, and I thought I could do this. Now this was before Food Network, okay? I'm telling you, all we had was books, and we lived by this time we had moved to the Navajo Reservation in Arizona, so we lived in a pretty remote place too. I couldn't run to the library, and I just learned to love to cook. I'd sit in the kitchen, and we had an open kitchen and dining room with a bar counter between, so my kids could sit at bar stools and we could enjoy each other. They wanted to cook too. They thought it was fantastic, and they wanted to lick the beaters. And we got little stools, taller ones for the short kids and the shorter stools for the tall kids. And by this time I had 4 children, and I learned bread. I learned how to cook, just things that I'd never known how to do before, and I discovered that I actually enjoyed it. I couldn't believe it, and it tasted so good, and you would work really hard to improve the recipe the next time. And I found that the way God creates us is what is best for us. It is where the peace is. It's where the joy is, because it's how He made us to function. It just makes sense. The Creator actually knows how His creation should work. I wanted to read to you some verses. One more piece to tell you of my story, and then I'll read just verses. I'm going to go forward a little bit into the late 2000s, the first decade of the 2000s, 2006, and up to 2009 and 2010. I had been getting sick quite often, and during those years when I got sick, all my best intentions, by then I really was doing a pretty good job, I think. I had learned a lot, and then I had a major setback. I got very sick, and I spent months in bed or on the couch, and during that time, I was just so discouraged because everything I had done to build a beautiful home and to learn to cook and to clean and to keep our chores up and to teach my children, and as well as homeschooling, all of it seemed to be going down the tubes. I couldn't keep up because I was just too sick, and my children were very young. Now, my oldest at this time was, he would have been, maybe 12, and on down until babies. I still had babies coming, and it took all my energy just to care for the little ones, but this is when I realized that maybe my kids could start to help me with not just keeping their own things nice, but also helping with the actual cooking and the cleaning. I did a little bit, and in 2009 I was so sick that my husband started to work from our home. He was a pastor at that time, and he was able to move his office into our home. And he had such a remarkable way of training the children. I would just sit and watch him teach them. He would involve them, but not only just involve them like I was doing with them sitting and watching and licking the beaters and helping stir, but he was actually teaching them to take over. So much so that by 2010, my children have been able to take over so much in the kitchen, and I don't actually cook very much anymore. You wonder how I can manage homeschooling Torah and homeschooling our children and helping to start a church and everything else that's going on. The fact is, I don't manage everything that you do. Most likely you are doing so much more in your home right now than I am, because I have a husband and I have children that are taking care of that. We have 7 children. So there's 9 of us in this house, and I'm really the one who participates pretty much the least. So if that just kind of relieves you, I'm not a superwoman, not even close. This is not my area of talent. But I have been, because of my husband's amazing help, we have been able to raise up children. My oldest now is 20. I have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, a very capable 11-year-old and 9-year-old, and even my youngest, who is 6.5, is quite capable. He can cook his own eggs, he can make his own toast and sandwiches and lunch, and I've got it pretty easy. And I know you're probably not in my situation right now. You don't have all of the help that I have. You're back when I was, and I had those little ones around me on the floor, and we had to do it together, and I had to learn. That's probably, I'm going to guess, where you are right now. So here are some tips and some verses that have helped me out. First of all, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 says, this is a long section, I'm just going to read it for you. We command you, brethren, in the name of our Master, Yeshua, the Messiah, that you withdraw from any brother who walks disorderly and not according to the tradition which he received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to follow us, for we were not disorderly among you, nor did we eat anyone's bread free of charge, but we worked with labor and toil night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you, not because we do not have authority, but to make ourselves an example of how you should follow us. Aren't there so many good things in there? They didn't walk disorderly. They worked with labor and toil night and day. They weren't a burden to others. Those are principles of what we can base our housekeeping and our chores on. We don't want to be a burden to others. We want to be careful of others and show our love. And we don't want to be disorderly. God is not a God of disorder. He is a God of order, not confusion. I'm going to continue in verse 10. It says, for even when we were with you, we commanded you this, if anyone will not work, neither shall he eat. That's a rule you can make for your children. No breakfast? You haven't done your chores. You haven't made your bed. I'm sorry, you may not have supper until this house is cleaned up. You don't want to do chores? Well, fine. No lunch for you. For we hear that there are some who walk among you in a disorderly manner, not working at all, but are busybodies. Don't let this happen to you. Don't let Facebook, email, social media, texting, and friends pull you into being a busybody and away from doing the jobs that God has given you. Now, those who are such, we command and exhort through our Master Yeshua, the Messiah, that they work in quietness and eat their own bread, But as for you, brethren, do not grow weary in doing good. I think that the heart of the Torah is to show us to be loving to others. And one of the ways you can show love to your children, to your spouse, to those who visit you, is to keep your home in an orderly manner. You know, I have so many books on my website. I'm going to link to my Amazon account, and I'm not doing that so I can make money. I'm just doing that because they're all there in one handy spot of books that helped me. And these are real books that helped me as I was going through this in my life. Some of these books are maybe even old and out of print with old-fashioned pictures from the 90s, but they helped me. And maybe they will help you too. To show love to others, that is your goal. If you need to, paste how precious others are, verses about that all over your home. I heard a story one time, a dear friend of mine, and she's an author. Her name is Anne Marie Ezzo, and she's a friend. And she said to me a story, and then I've heard it since in their classes, but she made this, she's so good at this herself, and her home is very gracious. She's a very hospitable host. And she said to me, one time our little daughter was bringing her doll to daddy, and it was her little Holly Hobby doll, if you remember those Holly Hobby dolls. And she said, Daddy, I want you to hold my doll. And he says, this doll is beat up and it's dirty and it's yucky. I don't want to hold her doll. She goes, but Daddy, take good care of it. It's so precious to me. So he held it, and then she came back later and got it from him. And he said, I don't hold that doll because it's precious to me, because it's dirty. Blah. She plays with it everywhere. But it's precious to its owner. And because I love the owner, my little daughter, I'm going to show love to this yucky, dirty doll too. We may not love doing dishes, we may not love doing chores, we may not love cleaning, but we want to show love to those who are in our home. They are precious to us. And because they are precious to us, we do even the jobs that we don't love, because we are doing it to show love to the people that we loved, if that makes any sense. Now, on my website, I have lots of links. First of all, for our members, we have an entire section on chores. I encourage you to download it. It has lots of ideas and things that you can teach to each level. And it doesn't go through a whole school year. It only goes through maybe 9 or 10, 11, I don't remember how many weeks, because it just really aren't that many chores. And if you can accomplish those, you'll see your whole house run more smoothly. We do our chores right after breakfast. We have several times a day, but this is our key time. After breakfast and after Torah reading, our minds are on Him, and we get up and we do chores. Especially now, our older children, our teenagers, and my husband, they'll dig into the kitchen dishes. We still don't have a dishwasher, and they'll get those things done. They have lists of chores, and I'm showing you some pictures from our home here. So you can see their chore charts. We hang them in the kitchen so that everyone can see. These are behind glass, these frames, and so we can use a dry erase marker to mark off what's done. They're very easy to remove from the wall and replace with a different chart when we decide, this chart's not working well. Sometimes I put on fun music, and if we do our chores too slowly, we set a timer to help us encourage, and then we have consequences if someone wouldn't want to participate. But that rarely happens because it's just the way it is in our house. We don't really know any different now. It's just part of our day, so no one really has a bad attitude. Let's see, we help the younger ones. The older ones help the younger ones. We have partners in this. And for the very youngest ones, their biggest job, would be to maybe clean up their jammies or put their diaper away or pull up the comforter on their bed. There's so much more. I'm not going to go into all this right now because it would be silly. I want you to dig into some of the resources that I have, and I'd be happy to help you in that way. But I just want to kind of give you the rationale behind it for now. Here's a chore chart that I've used since those times I was telling you about, since my little ones were very young. I made this on Microsoft Word back when they had clip art that would come in. And so this is an old chart, and my kids have been using this for a long time, and they can look at it in the morning and they can see what's next. They don't have to be a reader to do this. On our website, we have many forms and tools for mom to use as well. I have charts and lists for you to get ready for Sabbath. We have an annual house cleaning schedule, and we tend to do our annual house cleaning close to Passover to get the yeast out, and we'll do a lighter one before Sukkot. So that means every 6 months our house is getting a little bit of a good cleaning, a deep cleaning. We have chores for the preschoolers. We have chores for the older kids. All of this is on the website. And then for kitchen preparation and for kitchen jobs, we have lists of ideas of things that should be done in your kitchen each day so that you don't forget to clean the oven, you don't forget to clean the cupboards and the crumbs out of the drawers. We have a weekly menu for you so that you can customize it and plan ahead for what your meals are going to be, because if you plan ahead, that's most of it. And really, I do encourage you to get out cookbooks, magazines, get on Pinterest, and really enjoy learning how to cook. I actually recommend cookbooks over Pinterest, and maybe that's because I'm a book lover, but I tend to find that they have more instruction and not just light and fluffy. And those recipes, because they had to go through a publishing agency and a long process of publishing, you can know that those recipes are a little bit more reliable. And so I do recommend those. Learn to cook with skill, and you'll be in and out of the kitchen faster. Have a sharp knife. We have a dear friend, whose husband gave us a sharpening thing for our knife because our knife was so bad. But one of the things I did was, for a couple of years ago, I saved up my birthday money and until I had enough, and I bought myself a $70 knife, just one knife, and I love my knife. Even when it gets dull and other people don't like it, it's my knife, and it's like my tool in the kitchen. Another thing I have, you can laugh at me for being old-fashioned, but I have an apron, and I don't wear it because I'm trying to be all girly with my apron. I wear it because it has pockets, and pockets are fantastic. When you're in the kitchen, you can have a timer, you can have a pad of paper and a pencil, so if you realize that an ingredient is low, you can write it down, and you can find the Legos and the hair bows and things that you randomly find through the day, you can stick in there. And then I keep myself clean because I'm a very messy coffee drinker and everything else, so that helps. We have a grocery list on our site that you can use and adapt everything for you. It'll help you get started though. I keep refrigerator recipes, I call it. You'll see it on my site. But refrigerator recipes are just an abbreviated recipe. It's basically the ingredients but no instructions. But I can plop many of my most used recipes on the side of the fridge, and I can just quickly reference them. These are things that I make all the time. So if you want to see what's on the side of my refrigerator, you can see that on our website. I have also given you some cookbooks. We have easy breakfast ideas. These are things that you can mix together the night before and just pop in the oven in the morning. And I don't mean just on Sabbath. I mean all through the week to keep your mornings. I'm not awake in the morning. I don't know about you. Even with coffee, I'm not really that awake. So to have it done the night before. Now, granted, again, my kids are kind of taking over this area, but this is what I did for years. Then I have just a set of recipes. I did this when I was sick. I call it my week of healthy, easy recipes for dinner. And what it is I compiled some of our very favorite recipes together, but I had made them so many times that they were easy for me. And you could do this principle yourself with your own recipes. But I found 7 recipes that I knew that I could get in that kitchen and make in 10 minutes. Now that's because I was familiar with them. You may not be able to do it in 10, but again, I want you to customize this. So I would set my oven on preheat, and it lasted in that house about 10 minutes, and I would race that preheat, and I would have just enough energy to get out in that kitchen, chop, open cans, get it all in. I could feel the pain because I would ache a lot, and I would be so tired, and I'd be like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna fall over. But I could get my dinner made in the oven, and I could go back and sit down on the couch, and in 45 minutes or so, dinner would be ready. So some of those not all of them are oven ones, but they're all very easy, things that are delicious, and I felt like I could still manage even when I didn't feel well. Now I want to talk about the process. I referenced my husband's had a great way of teaching a new skill, and we have learned this from a variety of sources. His mother would be an excellent person that he learned it from. John Holtzman from Sunlight Curriculum has a neat thing that he describes in their core curriculum, and my son we used Sunlight when he was in kindergarten, and so I read that back then. So this would be in 99, 2000, and we read that, and so here is the method, and my husband is excellent at this, but I'll tell it to you. So the first time you teach your child a chore, the first time through it, you demonstrate. So let's say you're going to teach your young child how to clean a mirror, and first you have them there with you, and you show them the tools and the supplies. You've got Windex, you've got your paper towel, and you clean the mirror. The second time you clean the mirror, You give the Windex and the paper towel to the child and you coach them through, but you're right there with them like a football coach next to his player. You're coaching them, you're encouraging, wow, and praise. Praise, praise, praise. Remember, pleasant words promote instruction. That's what Proverbs says. So pleasant words all through these chores. This is not a thing for yelling. They're helping you. You are precious to them and they're helping you because they love you and they love doing things for you. So pleasant words, okay? Remember that. So they're learning and you're showing them how good they're doing, okay? And, maybe slightly gently say, you could work on that corner. Wow, you did great on that corner. You did it. Okay. You might take several times on the coaching step, but then finally you get to the third step, which is to delegate. And that means you step back. You don't go in there when they're cleaning the bathroom mirror. You say, okay, honey, I want you to clean it, do your very best job, and then come back and tell me when you're done and I'll inspect it. And, maybe even give a prize if you can. I found that for my older kids that I'm giving a large job, I say, honey, I want you to clean the kitchen. It's really broad. Their definition of clean the kitchen may not be the same as my definition of cleaning the kitchen. Often it isn't. And we're still working on this one in my house. And I found that a very specific checklist of cleaning the kitchen means do this, 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 this. You will know that the kitchen is clean when they have done those things. And the kids can look at it and you know what? They still may not quite do it like you would because it's not their home. You know how a mom, it's your home. It's your haven. You look at things with a different eye, but still it will be better. All right, finally, learn to clean as you go. I think that's the biggest thing I learned when we were younger. I don't want to have to tackle all those dishes that are stacked along all the counters ever, ever, ever again. So filling my sink with soapy water and cleaning as I go. We make it our goal. We learned this from Fly Lady, if you've ever heard of Fly Lady on the internet. But we make it our goal at the end of the day to have a shiny kitchen sink. Now this week during the conference, my kitchen has not been shiny. We've just been too busy trying to get everything done, and so the dishes have stacked up a little bit. But when I say they've stacked up, I mean maybe I have 3 plates and 2 or 3 glasses and some silverware. It's driving me crazy, but I'm not talking about the mounds of things that I used to have. We have learned to clean as we go, whether it's toys, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's in the bathroom. Have a container of baby wipes, and every time you're in there, wipe something down, whether it's the toilet or the side of the garbage can or the sink. If you wipe something down every single time you're in there, your bathroom will always look pretty good. If every time you go up the stairs you pick up something and take it with you, put it away, teach this to your kids as well. Finally, let's talk about life skills, because our kids have more skills to learn than just keeping up a house. One of the things that you are doing in your house, the reason you're having them help you is not just because you're all precious, but because you're training them for someday having a job. And whether they work for others or work for themselves, and believe me, I think it's more difficult to work for yourself because you have no boss over you to tell you. The Bible says, look to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. She does not have a leader telling her what to do, saying, go down there. No, they just all get up in the morning and they all work together, without leaders, without anyone bossing them. But whether they work for an employer or they are self-employed, they need to have the self-discipline to be a hard worker. I'm going to give you a bunch of links so that you can get ideas, but I would recommend that as your children are getting older, you teach them computer skills. In our society today, we need that. I would recommend that you teach them business and marketing skills, entrepreneurial skills. And no, I don't have courses on this in Homeschooling Torah. I don't think we're so busy running our own business right now and writing curriculum for the core subjects that I don't think that it's going to happen anytime in the near future. But your local library has so much. And as these skills change over the years very quickly, you send your kids to the local library. I recommend a book called What Color is Your Parachute? I have links below the video to an interest quiz that you can give your middle schoolers and early high schoolers and even your older ones that will help them discover the interests. This is a secular quiz, yes, but it will help them discover the things that they're interested in. My kids love taking quizzes like this, learning their personalities and finding out what their interests are. We also have below the video a link to a Christian organization's spiritual gift analysis, so they can decide what is their spiritual gift. And again, it's a Christian quiz, not Torah observance. You may have references to Sunday school and this and that, but you'll get the idea, and it will give you a good insight into your children and help them discover what they're good at, and you can help develop those life skills, push them along the path towards someday being in charge of their own home. As we have been talking all week, and this, I'm going to nail it again at you today. First of all, you teach character, and that was for myself. I had to learn self-control, and then I had to teach my children self-control. And self-control really is one of the most important things, and then that love and compassion for others. So character, but then you have to teach them skill, how to clean, and then you have to teach them content. We go to the library, we read cookbooks, we watch shows that will help us get better at this on Food Network or Home and Garden Television. We do these things to increase the content. Then we learn how to communicate. I teach my child how to clean. The older children have a buddy and they work with their buddy. But finally, we want them to be reproducing those skills in the lives of others. As your daughters go off and become good wives and mothers, then you will see these fruits being reaped in the lives of your grandchildren. As your sons grow up and lead homes, they will be like my husband. They will be able to come alongside their wives maybe when their wife isn't feeling well, and they'll all be able to work together. So you just see how everything that you do together as a family, God is doing it so that you can reproduce in the lives of others. And best of all, it says, do not be slow to entertain angels, for some have entertained, or to show hospitality, for some have entertained angels unawares. You never know. Keep your home beautiful. The angel may knock on the door, and it may not be an angel, but it may be someone who has needs, and they need someone to pray with them, or someone just to talk to, or someone to run them to on an errand. And you will be available because those little things of life will have been taken care of early in the morning, maybe again before supper, and maybe again before bed. And now you're free to serve and free to minister without all of this entanglement and clutter and distraction weighing you down. I do think God wants us to have a beautiful home surrounded by His loveliness, just as His garden is lovely. He wants your home to be a garden for your children where they can grow, a garden that is lovely and orderly and kept and tended and cared for. And it supplies food and things for us, and and we can use our homes as a tool that He has given us stewardship. He says a steward, if he is found faithful, he will give them. I'm totally paraphrasing this one, but as we are given talents, the man with 5 talents was given 5 more. I think in the kingdom to come, I want my master to say to me, "Well done, good and faithful servant. I've given you this little tiny piece of the kingdom, and now I want to give you all of this more because you've shown yourself faithful." I want to stand before Him with a clear conscience and to show Him how much I love Him, and He is the one who is most precious to me and the reason that I most want to do well in everything that I put my hand to. If you have any questions, I've given you a lot of links, a lot of ideas. If you have questions, be sure to contact us. I can probably point you to a blog post or to a video or something that we've already done that can help you out. And may your home be filled with much shalom, peace.